When we started the tourney, I went around and took a look at the other lists that we might face, and I told Hunter there was only one list that we wouldn't really be able to do anything about. We're still running the same list. The Panzer IIIs are there to mop up infantry, while the Panzer IVs are there to take care of the tanks, while the infantry are there just to take care of things that infantry are supposed to take care of. And I think the list is pretty solid, and in what will be a ongoing theme for all the footage in this tourney, I didn't take a picture of or take good notes on what exactly their list was, but this particular round, round 2, has us facing off against a Guards tank company. They've got those Razveki, or the white scout cars with the 50 cals on them with a bunch of infantry, and 2 separate platoons of KV-1s, of which there's virtually nothing in any kind of quantity in our list can do anything to. But we still got priority air, so we're going to rely on that to be able to soften them up, while the infantry have to deal with a board that's pretty much wide open. There's nothing in the way of cover out there. And to make the matters worse, our opponents are actually well versed in the game. They know exactly what they're doing, and they know how to deploy. In fact, they're more versed in this than I think I've ever been or will be. But with their KV horde and their absolutely indomitable amount of APCs that are capable of moving across the board, there's not a whole lot I can do to respond to this. I mean, we're going to really rely on our air support to take care of as much as we can, but we need, since we have mobile reserves in play, we need the tanks to come in just as quickly as possible. I opt to put in the 2 Pioneer platoons. One of the platoons is in ambush, the other is hiding out in that mosque, which an astute observer will notice that there is no doors on the thing. There's only some windows on the top. That's not going to come back to haunt me. And as you can see, the objective over here is by the Wadi on the other side, and there's another objective deep in the woods over here. I'm really hoping that he's going to come over here and just assault it, because with a Pioneer platoon in ambush, I can just pop them out should the opportunity arise. And with the first turn in play, begins moving forward. Ireke moves those BA-64s along the south edge of the map, and the Wadi slows down a great deal of the tanks, but he's pretty, astute about getting his maximum firepower in there. He's not very aware, or at least in this turn, they are not paying close attention to the fact that I have 7 air dice, and Hans in his Focke-Wulf 190 attack plane is going to come by sooner or later and start giving them trouble. But again, we're dealing with a bunch of KV-1s. Top Armor 2 is kind of hard to pop, even with a dedicated attack plane. And with the BA-64s getting close on our first turn, we decide, might as well pop out the infantry. He has no template weapon to speak of, and this actually seems to be kind of a weird janky feel for most of these team lists, that they don't, you don't see them as well-rounded as you normally would in a typical list where you just check off all the things you'd want. In this case, no templates, no air support, no artillery, no nothing. We just got a free reign of it all as Hans comes down into his airplane and decides to try to pick on some of those KVs, but he rolls in with one plane, misses with everything, leaving it just to the infantry to take care of it, and they're smart enough to swing those KVs out into the only place where we're going to bring on the Panzers. We roll for reserves, of course we don't get any, and they move all their tanks up. And they start peppering the mess out of the infantry in the center, and they're presented with quite a dilemma. Do you stay go to ground, or do you try to pop up and try to shoot some of those half-tracks, maybe get a lucky kill out of it? There's nothing you can really do about it, is there? Because I mean, if you leave gone to ground, then you're being hit on 5s. You're getting twice as many shots, and all those 50 cals are just, they're nasty. So they move some of their APCs up here, marked right here, right behind this mosque thing, and now they're already threatening the objective. So I have to move the command team out of the mosque, and I move them over there just to feed the meat grinder. We're just going to contest the objective so we just didn't lose on turn 2. They're smart enough not to assault the Pioneers down here in the woods, even though I'm pretty sure with my dice they would have won it. They, of course, kill the command team out there, thus securing the objective again, and we're going to have to send more infantry out there to take care of it. Hans shows up again. for the turn, and he ends up doing absolutely nothing for the effort. You could hope for it, right? But as Hans gets removed from the board, the KV-1s continue moving forward. They go ahead and mark the exact points in which our deployment zones are going to come in, and they're very careful to move the KVs in such a way that once we do eventually get our tanks here on turn 3, that they're already in a position to mess them up, while the infantry are dismounting from their half-tracks out there in the middle of the field, and they make the whole situation a lot worse for us, as even the Valentines start swinging around the building, more infantry start coming up on the other side of the mosque. The mosque is just saturated with fire. I mean, we're rolling buckets of dice. I can't really make them not get up. I mean, they're passing morale and unpenning every turn, but the moment that I lose gun to ground, they're all just going to die, so we avoid not. On the southern end of the map, the KV-1s and BA-64s managed not to do a whole lot of damage to that Pioneer platoon, managing to stick it down well into the woods and just kind of weather it. Of course, you know, he's going to get, you know, bored with this sooner or later, because there's more opportune targets that he's going to realize. Not that far away, actually. You can see him. Valentines go in to mop up the few stands of infantry that I had lying out there. They swing, they kill. The other Valentines move up forward, starts crossing the hill. I fail morale, and because we didn't realize that there's no doors on that side of the mosque, they managed to move their way in like some sort of X-Man. I don't know, maybe it's Nazi space magic, right? So they move up there, they opt not to try to bog themselves going through the wall, and of course we realize that the wall's there and there's no door, so there's no way that I can actually swing back. And even then, there's several of the several stands got pushed out of the mosque on the other side, where the infantry are on the other side of the board. That's okay. So our tanks show up. Awesome. They've got to chew through a whole KV-1 platoon before they could even do anything. We decided to go ahead and put the F2s out there to gun duel and kind of slice the pie against one tank, while the rest of the Panzer IVs begin swinging around the hill, trying to desperately chew up those half-tracks on the other side, or at least those white scout cars. We drop a couple Nebelwerfers on there. We managed to kill one infantry stand by the grace of our dice. I mean, yeah, that's great. That's great. Morale restored. My buddy Hunter was really disappointed, because it really looked like, up until this point, that he wouldn't even get his models on the game, and we would have been just over. We stormtrooper forward, but realize that we're actually popping our Panzer IVs out of command, and we have to jink one over just a little, just so that they all stay in command. And they didn't manage to kill anything out of the KVs. Start of the Soviet fourth turn, the KVs move forward. They're in a great position to light up all our tanks. We do what we can. We stiff upper lip. That's the KV-1s on the south side of the board. Go up the hill and decide, you know what? We don't have to deal with that Nebelwerfer battery. Let's get rid of it. And they just move up there. Well, I defiantly use rifle shots to try to repel the KV-1s. My opponent didn't realize it was a joke at the time, and well, yeah, that goes about as well as you can imagine. On the in the middle side of the board, the infantry finally start making their morale checks, as nearly everything gets destroyed in a hail of machine gun fire, and they fail, they break, they leave the board, leaving it just to the tanks to rush in and try to contest the objective for one more turn. And we're just a little out of range to even do that. So it's pretty well locked up for the Soviets as they spend their turn lighting up the few tanks that we had close enough to be able to do anything. And we are left just kind of hoping for the best. Now at this point, our Hail Mary involves having Hans, with his one plane, come down and kill a Valentine and 3 infantry stands all in one pass. So we figured, why not, right? So we throw all the tanks we can in there. Let's try to get up there as fast as possible, because, I mean, he hasn't even needed to dismount the rest of his infantry just to contest the objective. And, yeah, it goes about as well as you can imagine. We pull off the Nebelwerfer crew, and we manage to save our victory point there by just, you know, moving off the board. But Hans doesn't manage to kill anywhere near enough. It was one plane. That's just god-awful. And we never managed to kill a single tank. I think we bailed one of the KV-1s, and that was about as inconvenient as it got, as they kill another tank, and we nearly lost everything. It was a good game, but good lord, there was nothing we can do in this one from the beginning. I'm really not sure what I would have done differently on this one. Me and Hunter went back and forth on it, but it just... The KV-1's armor's really tough for us to crack. We didn't bring any real dedicated AT assets. I mean, the Panzer F2 was going to be our AT asset, and it took 3 turns for him to show up. And by then, they had to cross an entire board just to be able to make their presence felt, and they had to do it uphill, backwards, against the KV-1s. It's just... This was a rough match. I did mention to my opponent, if there was ever a point in Flames of War where I wanted to just flip the table, this one was pretty close. But it doesn't really reflect on them. They were a bunch of good guys, stand up, and I look forward to playing them again. But maybe not under these circumstances. This has been an Ouchies Batrep, and thanks for watching.
Roll. Which one are you gonna roll first?
The 6.
Okay. Roll a 6.
Get back here! Get away from him!
He rolls.
What'd you roll?
A 6.
There have been many moments in my life where I was willing to flip the table, but
Is this
we're
one of
getting
them?
close.
I'm
Okay,
shocked.
so then the other shot against the front armor.
Now this is where he rolls a 1.
Yeah.
Not a 4.
Ping.
These
We're having
guys
fun.
are into the sides of these SOBs.
Wait.
Which 2 infantry?
Actually, it doesn't matter.
Oh, okay. I lied.
Well, your pin. Put the pin marker down.
But I don't want to.
Okay, two tanks. Gotta reroll. Oh, we love the tanks.
Okay, tank number 1. Let's see. Possible bail. Wait, bombs are 5 or 4?
5.
Oh, ouch. Good.
Roll another one.
Ouch.
Blank and 1 kablooey.
We killed 2 things. Yeah. Go Team Memphis.
I know that feeling.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's the game though.
Okay.